For row 13, you are going to single crochet in each stitch across. So single crochet in these next 3 double crochets. Okay? So, now you're just about done with this, but what I do for the loop that I have on this one is I'm going to chain 2. So 1, 2, and I'm going to slip stitch, turn my work around, and I'm going to slip stitch into the 3rd stitch on my hook. Okay? So that's all I'm going to do. I'm not even going to like chain or anything. I'm just going to slip stitch. And I'm going to cut my yarn. Okay? So this is your ear flap. This is the first part of your ear flap. So you have that loop right there. So they should be the same size. So, yep, they are the same size. So, this is the first part of your ear flap. Make 2 of these. I only recorded 1, but you need to make 2, okay? Alright, so we are going to go ahead and work on the second part of our ear flaps. Okay guys, now around this time you would want to weave in your toes except for these here. That's one thing I probably should have mentioned. You guys want to keep your toes long. If not, it really doesn't matter, but I just like to keep mine long. It makes it easier for me. A little shortcut. So, I guess you can leave your toes in because we can just crochet around it right here. I mean, but I'm just going to show you guys, okay? So what you're going to need is your H hook, and you're going to need 1 strand of homespun yarn this time. What you're going to do is you're going to have your size H hook, and you're going to line up your ear flaps, okay? So you want to make sure they're, you know, lined up pretty well. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're a little, you know, bulgy and all that. We're just going to comb it out to make it furry anyways, so it doesn't really matter. When you're going to crochet this, you want to make sure you have your ear flap flipped this way, okay? So, we can start. I'm going to have 1 strand of homespun yarn, and I'm going to do a slip knot, okay? So, okay, maybe I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. Okay. Here's my slip knot. So, next what I'm going to do is I'm not going to start up here to crochet my ear flaps. I'm going to start down here on the side. And not even really at the top. I'm going to start, here's our first row of this ear flap. So I'm going to start right here. Right here in that little area. So, if you guys can see that, there's the first row. Here's the second row, so I'm just going to crochet right here where you can see my finger poking out. And it doesn't matter where this ends up. Whoa, focus, going crazy. Okay, it doesn't matter where this ends up on the other side of the ear flap. I mean, that part isn't going to be seen anyways, okay? So, what you're going to do is you're going to stick your hook in that area. Make sure all your ear flap is lined up because it will move if you're not careful with it. And the slip knot that we made, I'm going to put that on my hook and pull it through the ear flaps. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 2. And make sure I pull my yarn around so that I can crochet over it. Okay, see now we have this like part up here, and we're not going to crochet up here. I'm going to tell you why later on. But what you're going to do now is you're going to half double crochet in the same area that you just slipped. So half double crochet in that same area, in that same little hole that you slipped in. Okay, and now all the way around the ear flaps, you're going to half double crochet where you please or where you see fit. I mean, we're just basically sewing the ear flaps together now. Make sure they stay even though. Okay, I mean, you see how mine's coming out a little right here. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. I mean, it's really longer because mine's kind of stretched out. But when you have your loops matched, it's not going to matter at all because you see down here it's not like making there's no significant difference or anything. So just make sure your ear flap on the other side does not move. You're just going to half double crochet where you please. So now that you're at your loop, I still left my tails on just because I don't feel like weaving them in right now. What you're going to do is you're going to do 3 half double crochets in this loop. So 1, oh, grab it, 2, and 3. So, okay, so now you're just going to go ahead and crochet in that next little area next to the loop. You shouldn't really have to worry much about your ear flaps being like not connected anymore, because since we already did this side, this is what half of it looks like now. So if your ear flap is looking like this, you are doing just fine, okay? So we're just going to keep going. We're almost at the top, so what we're going to do is we're not going to crochet all the way up to the top. We're just going to crochet up to that second row like we started in the second row. So 1, that's 1, 2. So we are going to stop right about here. So I'll just put my finger there. So there's our ear flap. Now I know it may not look finished because up here, but what we're going to do when we sew on our ear flap, we are going to sew this part to the hat, okay? You don't want fur seen on the outside of the ear flap up here. I'll show you guys how you're going to do that. And down here you're just going to push your ear flap kind of down a little bit more. It's okay if it's a little bubbly. It doesn't really matter. It's supposed to be poofy and warm. So, and you're going to sew it down here, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So go ahead and weave it on your ends already. I mean, if you haven't already, do it now. And I'll meet you at the end. Okay, YouTube, I'm back, and I just weaved in. I just made my other ear flap, and I weaved in the edges. So this is what it should look like. Your black should be a little bit higher than the gray. Even though you didn't do anything to make it look like that, that's how it should be. So let me back the camera up a little bit. I don't know if I can, but that's what it should look like. Okay, so now it's time for us to attach our ear flaps. Alright, so to attach your ear flaps, you can easily do this by, I mean, you know, to where to put your ear flaps, it may be kind of hard. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my metal mannequin, and yeah, it's kind of beaten up. But I'm going to put the hat on him with the back facing backwards, of course. Okay, so this is how it fits on him. And it actually comes a little bit like mid-ear or below the ear, but it's supposed to come like that because, you know, aviator hats, you know, that's kind of the style. So, put the hat on yourself or whoever you're making for if you have a mannequin, okay? Here's my little mannequin. I have it on him all the way. It's snug on him, so it's pretty good. So, here's where my ear flaps are going to go. I'm going to measure them to fit right there in the ear. So, you know, you just got to pretty much figure out, because I'm going to, when we sew this on, we're going to sew the black connecting to here. Zoom in. It's going to be connected to here, okay? We're not connecting it down here. We're connecting it up here. And then we're going to connect the gray to that, okay? Because if you look at an aviator hat, there's never any fur. You never see any fur like on the outside, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. But you want to figure out where to attach your ear flaps. I think I'm going to attach mine right here, okay? So figure out where you're going to attach your ear flaps, and I'll meet you back to actually attach them to our hat. Okay, so I figured out where I'm going to place my ear flap. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to thread my needle. And the way I'm going to thread it is I'm going to pull it through, and then when I sew, I'm going to be sewing like this, okay? It's going to be double stranded. That'll just make it more sturdy and stuff. So, okay? So you're going to attach your ear flap right here to this first row. You're going to take your needle, take it under the hat. We're working on the outside of the hat, okay? But we're going to take the needle, take it inside the hat, and pull it through. And we're just sewing the black to the black, okay? We're going to sew the black to the black, and then we're going to sew the gray to the gray, okay? So, it doesn't necessarily matter how you sew it. As long as it's connected, I mean it's black, you're not really going to see it. So, I'm just going to kind of make this fit on. Anyway, you want to make sure it's secure on the corners though, right here and right here. You want to make sure that is secure because it will come loose if it's not. So I think I'm just going to sew it on like this. Going in like this, and then going under. See, right about here. So I mean, you could just attach your ear flaps like you do any regular ear flaps, but to me it just looks better this way. So if you want it to actually look like the Aviator hat that I made, I would suggest you probably do it like this. First row. Right here. Alright, so I'm almost coming to the corner. Okay, like I said, the corner you want to make it secure, so I think I'm going to sew into this one again. So you can just sew it however you want. I mean, this is just the way I'm doing it. There's really no specific way. So when you pull your ear flap down, that's what you're going to get, okay? So I'm going to go across, going back this way, that way, and that way. One more time, so that you guys can see. Okay, so okay guys, so go ahead and put on both of your ear flaps. Just use the same technique, or just make sure you have your hat. If you still have your tails on, if you still have your tails on, then just fold the hat in half and have the tails towards the back, and you'll basically see where you need to place them, okay? So go ahead and do that, connecting just the black, and then I'll meet you at the end.